Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. This episode is a very, very special episode for us because Jackson and I are no longer students. We are now graduates of KU Journalism, the University of Kansas. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit later, but we're here to talk about Kansas basketball, and there's been some pretty big news in the Kansas basketball world the past couple of days. So Jackson and I are here to break it all down. Let's just get right into it. Episode 35 of The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast, coming right up next. Well, all right, Jackson. We had some pretty unfortunate, pretty big news come out on Tuesday, yesterday, as well as the official release of this. But Elmarko Jackson, sophomore guard for the Kansas Jayhawks, is out for the season. He sustained a leg injury during Kansas basketball camp on Tuesday, and then the next day, which was yesterday, Wednesday, Kansas basketball officially announced he tore his patellar tendon, and he is going to be out. Very unfortunate news coming here, but it is what it is, and Kansas is going to have to rebound. Just the official statement from Bill Self. He says, yesterday, while working out in front of the campers, Elmarko Jackson tore his patellar tendon. An MRI conducted by the Kansas team health confirmed last night. It will require surgery within the next several days, and a full recovery is anticipated. He will be able to resume non-contact basketball duties in the next several months, but the full rehab process will take approximately 12 months, 1 year. Bill says, we are all crushed by this. Elmarko had a terrific spring. He has worked so hard and improved so much. This will be a challenge that he will meet head on, and he will return as good as ever. And I think I really believe that, Jackson. I think Elmarko Jackson will return as good as ever with this, but very unfortunate news coming out of Kansas basketball.
Yeah, it really stinks. The whole conversation around Elmarko so far after the season has been about whether he was going to stay, whether he was going to hit the portal, didn't have the best freshman season. And I think the general consensus when he decided to stay was excitement. Everybody was excited, like, all right, another year of Elmarko. And like, kids staying nowadays means a lot more than it used to. This kid really cares about Kansas. He really cares about the program. I think he was really excited to have another shot at trying to be the player that you and I think he can be. And then this happens, and it's just brutal luck. That's all it is. And for the people getting upset that they were scrimmaging in June, they do this every single season, every single year since Bill Self's been there. Basketball players play basketball. They scrimmage. They do workouts. Like, it's just unlucky, man. And so I guess we're going to get into potential replacements, but it's really unfortunate that we don't get to see year two Elmarko until a whole nother season.
Yeah, it's always made a thing, the kind of freshman to sophomore jump under Bill Self, really across the country. And I think Elmarko Jackson was set to take a really, really big jump this year. I mean, he showed a lot of flashes last year, but Jackson, we've talked about this before, he's been playing basketball for not that long. I don't think he was necessarily ready for that stage, for that role, for a starting role, right on one of the better teams in the country, right out of high school. This next year would have been a perfect year for Elmarko. He would have been maybe the 8th, 9th man. He would have been able to come in, kind of relieve DeJuan Harris, be another primary ball handler. And I really think he would have been a great player for Kansas this next upcoming year, which is why this just sucks so much.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, Elmarko, he needs the basketball to develop. He needs the time on the court. And yeah, it's just really unfortunate. I think Elmarko Jackson coming back for a junior season, though, he's going to be a stud. He's going to be a great player. And I really think that he's going to, work hard on his rehab, get through this, and be a better player, like Bill Self said. So, yeah, really unfortunate news, but Elmarko, where Jayhawk Nation is behind you. Jayhawk Nation is behind you.
He'll be back. That's a brutal rehab, a whole year, man. Like that's like one of the worst injuries you can take. I mean, but I think you're right. I think last year, he played, for on-court production reasons, too many minutes, honestly. And he kind of had to, because Kansas was really, really shorthanded and they needed him to play that many minutes. And I was excited for that fact because of all of that experience he had already had, another year under Self, another year learning the game of basketball in general, and really honing in his skills. The flashes we saw were the freak athlete flashes that we got to see in high school of just guy can jump, he can go, he is so quick with the ball. That's what we saw. And then I think all offseason he's been shooting a ton, dribbling a ton. I was really excited. I agree with you. I think him being like an eighth or ninth man would have been perfect for him. I think he would have happily accepted that. He would have been excited for it. And then now here we are.
If there's any positives to come out of this, it's the fact that in less than a day, Kansas basketball has replaced Elmarko Jackson, and they have done so with former Mississippi State guard Shakeel Moore. He committed to the Jayhawks yesterday on Wednesday. I'm not going to lie, Jackson, I love this pickup. I mean, if you're thinking about it, you lose Riley Kugel, a guy who's probably a bench piece for you, going to play maybe, in the 15, 20 minute per game range. And then you lose Elmarko Jackson. The ball handlers on Kansas basketball right now looking very slim. With that fact, you add in Moore, that kind of alleviates some of the pressure. It gives Kansas some bench depth, some continuity on the bench. He's a defensive guy. He was on the Naismith watch list as a junior, top 15 defensive player in the country that season. It's just a good pickup. It's a Bill Self type pickup, and I'm excited what Shakeel will bring.
Yeah, I think the other than Elmarko, obviously, another downside is if LeBaron is still around when Elmarko gets hurt, he's probably not leaving because those are a lot of minutes that just opened up for him. And Phylon would be really nice to have right now, but go now and getting Shakeel Moore. I think he's a better player for Kansas than Riley Kugel would have been because Shakeel has got a little more consistency to him, more experience. He started hundreds of SEC basketball games. I mean, that's real. Like, we get scared about the Nick Timberlake factor. That's not even in the conversation here. This guy has played high-level basketball games, and a lot of them, Mississippi State's been to the tournament a couple times while he was there. He guards really, really well, and he shoots a decent clip from three, and he's a pretty good athlete. Those clips, he had some clips going around of him dunking on guys sophomore, junior year. So there's a little something there athletically, but I think IQ-wise, defense-wise, Kansas has got the bucket getters now. That was the big problem in the offseason. That has been addressed. Another glue guy like Shakeel coming in to replace Elmarko's minutes, I think that's going to be really valuable.
Yeah, he averaged 8 points, 2.2 rebounds, 1.8 assists per game for Mississippi State last year, 36.3% from three, played in about 24 minutes per game with 22 starts. His whole career, he scored over 1,000 points. How many 1,000-point scores does Kansas basketball have on this roster? It's quite a bit. It's quite a bit. He's made 68 total starts. He's played 4 years in college using his last year of eligibility. He's a college graduate. He graduated from Mississippi State. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about the pickup. There's a lot to like about Moore. I think he's going to play a vital bench role, kind of be that alleviating ball handler for Kansas off the bench and just play defense. Just play defense, pick up guys 94 feet, just be a rascal out there. That's kind of what we're getting in Shakeel. Good pickup by Bill Self. He is cooking in the portal this offseason, Jackson. Bill Self cannot be stopped.
It was pretty amazing that the Elmarko problem was addressed in literally one day. I mean, that was the word everyone was saying. Like, Bill Self does it again. Less than 24 hours, he's already replaced an injury. And he's still saying he thinks he wants to add another guy, and there's still room for another guy. I just want to put that out there.
There is indeed, and we'll kind of get into that now. Just what the roster looks like right now. Maybe who Kansas will add. Right now, Kansas is at 12 scholarship spots. And due to the IRP penalties, they are able to add one more, but that would mean they would have to have 12 scholarship spots next year. But right now, we're looking at our guards. We're looking at DeJuan Harris, Zeke Mayo, and Shakeel Moore, with obviously Elmarko Jackson injured. On the wing, we got AJ Storr, Rylan Griffin, Raquise Passmore, Jamari McDowell. And then our bigs, we got Hunter Dickinson, KJ, Flory, and Zach Clements. Kansas has room for one more player. And I think they add somebody, and looking at kind of the roster right now, I think Kansas needs another wing. Just another bench wing, another shooter maybe, just somebody, because you really don't, once you kind of get past that, Harris, Store, Griffin, Adams, Dickinson, Mayo, and Moore,
Yeah.
kind of looking for that eighth guy that's not a big. And I think it's got to be a wing player, unless Kansas really wants to rely on Jamari and Marquise Passmore next year. I think it's going to have to be somebody on the wing.
I think you go get another wing for sure. If Bill wants one more guy, that's what he's looking at. And it'll be as someone who shot over 40% from three. I can promise you that. However, if that does not happen, I think Rakis can slide in and be that
I
guy.
agree. I do agree.
I really think he can. I got to watch him 2 years or last summer when he was going into his senior year or junior year, sorry, of EYBL. The player I watched is not even close to what he is right now. He has improved so much. He couldn't shoot when I watched him. He had the kind of a hitch in his shot. He would hit a few, but he wasn't like a shooter. Rakis is coming in as a 3-level scorer. He's going to take you to the basket. He can hit a midi, and he stretches it now. And the thing I loved most about him was his energy and his ability to guard. And just, I think him as an eighth man, where he can come in and be instant energy, instant size too. I mean, he's a bigger guy. He's got a good wingspan and the ability to shoot like 35% is fine for the eighth man of a team. And he's going to give you energy. He's never going to come out flat. It's just a matter of, can he learn what Bill Self wants him to do by October? Obviously we saw with Elmarko last year, it's easier said than done. I mean, learning how to play Bill Self basketball is not like, it's a hard thing to do. So Rakis, jury's still out on that. But I think the potential's there. The talent's absolutely there for him to slide into that role.
See, you're saying a lot about potential. And I know Rakis has a lot of potential. I don't know if Kansas can rely on him to consistently be that eighth guy. That's why I still think Kansas is going to pick up somebody else. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe a Johnny Furphy 2.0 and a Michael Ruzic. I've kind of heard, coming over from the European side of things. But I mean, Kansas has until I think August 30th. It's the final day to enroll in classes at KU. That is the final day that Kansas can pick somebody up in the transfer portal. So kind of be looking out for that day. There's still a couple months here to be able to do that, but I think Kansas grabs somebody. I mean, I really don't think that Bill Self wants to go into this year with 11 healthy players. 2 of those being Jamari and Rakis, and another being a freshman in Flory, who I get's a 5-star, but do you really know what you're going to get out of him? Yeah, I mean, it just needs to happen. There's going to have to be something.
You need another adult in the room. That's kind of what it is. I think, especially after last year, Bill Self wants 8 adults in his rotation. That's what he wants. And Rakis is great and super talented, but as you said, the whole point is maybe he'll be ready by October. Bill Self needs somebody who's been ready October of 2021 in his 5th year of college basketball. Like, that's what he wants right now.
Somebody exactly like Shakeel, but a little taller, ball a little better,
shooter.
Plays on the wing, something like that. Yeah. That's pretty much where Kansas is right now. They got 11 players, 1 injured, and Elmarko Jackson, 1 spot open. A little lineup prediction. This is kind of Jackson and I's combined lineup prediction here. We got, of course, DeJuan Harris starting at the 1. We got AJ Storr starting at the 2. Rylan Griffin at the 3. We got KJ at the 4 and Hunter at the 5. That's your starting 5. And then we got the Mayo Moore combo off the bench. Then obviously Flory and Clements are your backup bigs. And then right now you got Jamari and Rakis as kind of that backup wing. We think there should be another there. I'll tell you what, Jackson, that lineup, even as is, I'm still probably giving the advantage to preseason number 1, at least preseason top 3.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think when you really read it out as a lineup, you start to see the glaring, another wing would be really helpful in that. But I completely agree with that as the 5. I think originally it was going to be Zeke starting, and then you add Griffin, and he was just starting in the Final Four. You can't move that. You can't move that to the bench. I mean, that's some real valuable experience you just brought in. And Rylan Griffin is an awesome obviously he's an awesome basketball player. That's what I think the 5 is. I do think Zeke still has a chance to hop in there. I mean, if he has a great summer and Rylan isn't adjusting quite well, Zeke will slide in there. But KJ is going to start. DeJuan's going to start. If you don't like that, I'm sorry about it. I know it's not the most beautiful basketball you've ever seen, but they're going to be in the starting lineup.
I think
And
Hunter
KJ's gonna be
Dickinson
really good.
might start too. Maybe.
Yeah, that Hunter guy, he'll be in there probably. I don't know, but
Perhaps.
yeah,
It's a
perhaps. But
toss-up.
but the Flory Clements back at big, I'm
I
not
love
like
it.
scared of it, but neither of those guys have played for Kansas in at least a
Oh,
year. Flory's
come
a high
on.
schooler and Clements just redshirted. All the chatter around Clements is that he is basically Carl Anthony Towns. That's what everyone best shooting big Kansas has ever had. Like that's the chatter. So
He's gonna be a bucket next year, Jackson. Just wait. Just
Clements is coming
wait.
in with a vengeance.
He's all that scout team, just absolute confidence that he has gotten
Yeah, it's a real
last year.
thing.
He's gonna come in, he's gonna let it fly. He might not make them all, but
Oh, it's going up. I
going
can't.
up.
Ball's
If
going.
I know anything about Zach Clemens, if he gets the ball at the top of the key, it's going up. There's no doubt about it. No
No,
doubt.
yeah, that's a top five lineup in the country right now, definitely.
I I, I would give maybe Bama a slight edge returning Sears to Kansas
Yeah,
right
that
now
was
in
big.
terms
That
of
was
if you're gonna rank your preseason number one right
yeah.
now, maybe go Bama. I mean, obviously UConn has built quite the squad, but I think it's Kansas Bama right now as far as
Yeah.
just on paper right now. Who's the best? Probably Kansas Bama. And I really don't think Kansas is done. There should be another wing on this team. Well, all right, Jackson. That's pretty much all we have for this first part, kind of breaking down the news as of late, the Kansas roster. We will be back here at the Under Four to talk a little bit of 2025 basketball recruiting, and Jackson and I will also give our favorite memory at the University of Kansas, now being graduates. Stay tuned, y'all.
The best month of the year is here, which is why you need to know that we are partnered with BetMGM. We'll be using BetMGM lines for making all of our picks and predictions, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use bonus code FIELD and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's the best part. All you need to do is your hard-earned money to get it. This is what you have to do to make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using that bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll get up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. Most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the rest of the NCAA tournament. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boost, and the thing that I love the most, a nice little parlay boost, as well as a ridiculous array of prop bets for anything that you could possibly imagine betting on. From odds on getting to the Final Four to national championship futures, I'm calling it right now. BetMGM is the king of the prop bet. So go download the BetMGM app. Use that code FIELD and sign up today. And while I've got you, a quick request. The best way to support the Field of 68 content you get for free is to engage with us. Rate and review the pod in any podcast app. Like and share the YouTube videos that you enjoy. Tell your friends about us. It all helps in a world where the algorithm is king. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. Jackson and I are back here now to talk a little bit of 2025 recruiting. Things are starting to heat up here in the recruiting cycle. It's June. It's kind of this weird period in between the last EYBL sessions and Peach Jam. Kids are going on visits. All sorts of stuff is happening. And I've had the chance to be around EYBL for the last couple of weeks in Indianapolis and Kansas City, kind of seeing what guys are talking to which schools, stuff like that. And there have been a lot of people who are mentioning Kansas, but there's two names to really hone in on, to really know in this 2025 class. And there are two top 5 players in this class, and that's Darius Acuff, point guard, and Darren Peterson, another guard, small forward type guy. Both top 5 players, both absolutely electric, both can put the ball in the basket. Right now, those are your top 2 targets for Kansas in the class of 2025. And again, they happen to be 2 top 5 players in the class. Jackson, anything you know about these guys, Darius and Darren Peterson?
I watched Darius in person a good amount when I was at Peach. He is, man, he's quick. He's really quick. And I will say, Bill and Norm were there last year when he was a sophomore already, like talking about like this has been developing. He's a Bill Self point guard. That's the best way to describe his game. He can score, he can shoot it. He guards too. Like he and it's not just that he guards, he cares on defense. Like that's one thing that's fun to watch when you and I watch these high schoolers is when they're engaged defensively and clapping and talking and you can tell they're locked in. That's when it's fun to watch a player because they can run dunk on people, cross somebody up, hit a step back. We know that going in, but when they're locked in defensively and fired up, that gets me going. Darius, he's a great athlete. I just think he's I don't want to compare him to DeJuan at all, but he's more polished than DeJuan is as kind of like a hooper, I would say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
like
he's really good, and
he's just good, man.
To me, Jackson, the biggest thing about him is just his demeanor. Like you said, he has that just like laser, pure focus. Like, do not F with me. I'll tell you this, Jackson. So I have with recruits, I have kind of the same like, interview outline, you want to ask about, the schools that are most in contact. You want to ask about visits. You want to ask about this and that. And I kind of go through the same outline with every single player. Not the exact same questions. Obviously, every player is different.
Right.
They have unique things about themselves, but it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I've had players talk for 7 minutes, 10 minutes, at least 5+ minutes using this outline. Acuff talked for 1 minute and 52 seconds. Very to the point, very just, this, yes, that. The dude doesn't care about anything, Jackson,
but
besides basketball. On the
I
court.
didn't see he never mouthed off at his coach, his teammates. He never talked trash. He just wants the ball. He just wants the rock. Give him the rock. I don't know much about Peterson, so you'll have to speak more on him, but I'm a big Acuff guy. Big Acuff guy.
I honestly, he's Adidas. I haven't been able to get out to the Adidas circuit, but I mean, Darren Peterson, basically what I've heard about him, he is just your ultimate guard. Like combo guard, shooting guard. He can kind of do it all. He can score. He's athletic. I mean, he's the number 3 player in the country. And there's a reason for that. This guy is really good. He's going to be an NBA guy. I think Darius will probably be an NBA guy too. But yeah, right now, those are the top 2 guys for Kansas. Those are the 2 I think Bill Self is going to end up getting. Knock on wood here. I think those are the 2 that is really going to be kind of the drivers of this class. And to be honest, I don't think Bill Self is going to be recruiting that high school heavy any longer in this kind of new era of college basketball. I think kind of like this year, he had his 3 guys that he really liked, Flory, LeBaron, and Raquise. LeBaron obviously ends up going to Bama, doesn't work out, but I think we're going to see a trend where Bill is only picking up 1 to 2 high school guys every single year. And I think this year it's Acuff, it's Peterson, and there really isn't anybody else that's Kansas is really going hard after. And I'll throw out some names here. BJ Davis-Ray, Houston Hoops, small forward. He has a lot of interest with KU. He's planning a fall visit, but I'm not so sure that KU kind of has that same mutual interest. He's like a top 75 guy. We got guys like Caleb Wilson, Bryson Tiller, kind of your upper echelon guys, Jasper Johnson, Darius Adams, all 5 stars on the EYBL circuit, besides Tiller. I don't think Kansas is very in on them either, even though, they've been talking them, recruiting them. Same with guys like Sebastian Williams-Adams, Davis Fogel, Tunde Yusufu. These are all guys that Kansas has been recruiting, but again, I don't think they're in very deep with many guys in this class. It's just Peterson and Acuff at this point. And there is a center from Oak Hill, Francis, who I think they're a little bit warmer on as kind of like a developmental big. But yeah, besides that, that's kind of where we are.
And I think to even support your theory, I think Acuff's a 2-year guy. I don't think he doesn't really barring like a breakout season, of course, where he's just hooping, it's going to be a better draft class for his freshman class. And I just think in general, point guards, it's harder for point guards to really like go crazy. Like Reed Shepherd's kind of a weird example from this year, but I think that also shows the draft class how it's weak. But even like the Reed Shepherd thing,
Shepherd played off the bench.
He comes off the bench and he can hit 5 threes and everyone's freaking out about him. But that's not usually how it goes for smaller point guard, combo guard guys like Darius. I think he's a 2-year guy, and I think Bill's never been a big one and done supporter. If Wiggins wants to come, he's gonna go get Wiggins. Like if Josh Jackson wants to come, he's coming. Like we're gonna still pursue it, but I think you're right. I think in Bill's perfect world, he has 2 freshmen who can play right now and aren't necessarily one and done lotto guys, and then 12 portal / returning guys.
Yeah, I think that's really the trend we're going to start seeing. All right, Jackson, just to wrap up here, we are graduates. We've done it. We somehow have made it through college. So, yes. Jackson, my question is to you. You've spent 4 years at the University of Kansas. I have spent 5, a glorious 5 years.
Victory lap.
Give me your best memory, Jackson. What is your best memory from KU?
Am I allowed to say the national championship? Because I feel like that's kind of a layup.
No, I will not allow it.
Okay, if I'm not that, then I've said this a couple times. Just the first MU game when we beat them 102-60. That was a frat party in Allen Fieldhouse. That was the most fun environment to be in. Just, I mean, you students get there 2 hours before the game, and the F Mizzou chants are just off the walls already. And then it just kept going for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then we just completely beat the crap out of him on the way to a natty.
T-Han hit the 3.
T-Han hitting it for 100. Like, what is it? That was literally a Disney movie. But beating OU in football this year.
Dang it, Jackson.
You're going to say? Well, I think we can share it. I got to watch that game with my little sister in the student section, and she's a freshman in high school, so that was really fun for her. And both my parents were there. And I just really think that's what we're going to look back on as the turning point for KU football, is that game.
I don't know if you remember the story, Jackson, but I was
you had a crazy –
I was at home during the OU game, and it was a rainy day. Like, it was a really rainy day. And it
was awful
for whatever reason, I just could not get myself to get to the stadium. Kansas, I'm watching the game. Kansas is, they're maybe about to win. I rode my bike all the way to Memorial Stadium, probably a 10 to 15 minute bike ride up a lot of hills to get there. I tied my bike on some random pole outside the stadium. We got in, we saw KU beat Oklahoma. That's probably my top memory. You can't forget about being in New Orleans for the national championship. That was pretty awesome. But, man, I'm trying to think of something that's not sports related,
Not sports related. I have
that I can say on a podcast, that's kind of a hard one to
well, that was I went to Vegas with my class. It was a lot of schools do it. They do that trip where they send the seniors out to Vegas during fall break.
Yeah.
And that was my peak. That was just everything since then has just been downhill. It's just nothing's as fun as Vegas, man. And I could get into it, but I also can't. So
I agree with you. My favorite moment just overall is the progress that Kansas football has made.
I think that's honestly, the answer.
If I had to pinpoint it, actually, I would say maybe the day that Travis Goff was hired and he had that press conference.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the day, because I knew right away that Travis was going to be something special.
I think the Caleb Williams game when he was a freshman, why the OU win was even sweeter, where he takes the ball on 4th down and they win. That, I think, was the actual starting point, because then we go beat Texas on the road in overtime. Jared Casey.
If I was there, that probably would have been my favorite memory.
If I was in Austin for that game, that's the memory. Like, that is it. But I remember that day very vividly. I was at a senior house, a bunch of fraternity brothers, 50 of us outside watched it. We ran to the booth after the game, and there was security already there. Like, no, you can't. We were going to take the goalpost down for an away win. They were like, no. We were like, what's the difference? Home or away? We're taking this shit down.
It's just the fact, Jackson, that I think it was sophomore year whenever I started covering the team.
Yeah.
I remember my first game covering Kansas football. It was against Oklahoma State. It was 21-0, maybe 2 minutes into the game. It was Oklahoma State touchdown, pick six, muff the kickoff, touchdown, 21-0, and a
Hubbard, man.
to
You know, the leading
possibly winning the Big 12 next year, Jackson. It's crazy. It's crazy.
The leading tackler for that game that you're talking about was Nick Channel, who went to my high school and is a Capen grad like myself. He was 2 years older than I was. His sister was in my class, and he was a walk-on, special teams walk-on when he was a freshman.
He was a beast.
He'll never, ever play. And then every game my family would go to, we'd always see him on the sideline. We'd go, Nick. And then all of a sudden, COVID happens. We're the worst team in North America, not even United States. Like, there were football teams in Mexico better than our football team. Like American football teams in Mexico better than Kansas in football. And here's Nick Channel, just 12 tackles, playing middle linebacker at 5'9". Like,
he was a guy. He really
brick house, bro. Nick's a great guy, super smart, absolute brick house. And he carried Kansas through COVID, man. He really did. He carried the 0-9 Jayhawks that you had the pleasure of covering.
I did have the pleasure of covering. Well, all right, y'all. That's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 35 of The Hum. We will be back very soon. We got some more Bill Self basketball camp coming up, and I believe that Jackson and I will be able to attend and get a little bit of content for you guys. So stay tuned this offseason, y'all. You never know when Kansas might make a move.
That's true.
Stay tuned with us. Thank you, y'all.